double click on submit. We'll create a new click handler for us. So what do I want to do? So before we write any more code, I want to illustrate what we're going to do and how we're going to design the code and the thinking behind determining how many correct pegs there are and how many correct colors but in the wrong spots there are. Okay, so here's an illustration of the buttons array and the secret array. Okay, now this buttons array actually contains buttons and not colors specifically, but each button, if we just get its back color property, we get the color of that button, right? So here's a secret code, which is an array of colors, if you will remember. And what we want to do is we want to march through the secret array, so indices 0 through 3, and compare the color to the color of the corresponding button. Okay? Because in the end, what we really want is we want these colors to be equal, these colors to be equal, these to be equal, and these to be equal, right? That's how the user wins, right? So we're going to march through and we're going to compare this color to that. Are they the same? No. Are these the same? No. Are these the same? Yes. And we want to have a way to remember that these were the same, because when we go back and we compare which colors are correct but in the wrong spot, we don't want to consider the pegs we've already determined are completely correct, right? So we want to have a way to mark that. So what I'm going to do is create a new array, an array of integers that I'm going to call compare. And each element will contain one of 3 integers. Okay? -1 means that there's no comparison yet for that particular button. Either no comparison or there's nothing was the same. There's, that color wasn't even in the guess. Okay? 0 means there is a color. So for example, in red, there is a red in the guess, right? There's in fact there are 2, but it's not in this spot. Okay, so it's the right color but wrong spot. And 1 means it's the correct color and the correct spot. So in this case, blue is the correct color in the right spot. Okay, and this is an important point that I'm going to make right now, is that the elements in the compare array correspond to the ones in the secret array. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create another for loop that will march through the secret array and compare its colors to the corresponding colors of the button. Okay, so let's do that. So first I'm going to create an array of integers. I'm going to call it compare. New int, and I'm going to initialize it to all -1s. Like that. Okay. Then I'm going to create 2 integers. I'm going to call it secret index and button index. I'm going to initialize these. Okay. Semicolon. Okay, now this is strange to you, but I've created 2 variables and I've put them in the same line. You can actually do this in C# and then quite a few other languages as well. So up to now I've always declared each variable in its own line, and in fact I actually like doing that because I can then write comments that describe that variable, and so it makes it easier to read. But sometimes if it's just a bunch of variables and they all kind of do the same kind of thing, play the same kind of role, I might define them all in the same line. Okay? And I'm also going to create two more variables that will keep count of how many pegs are completely correct and how many just the color's correct but in the wrong position. So I'm going to say perfect matches, color only matches. I'm going to initialize these to 0. Like that. I'm going to write a comment here before our first for loop to remind us of what we're going to do here. Let's say first, count all perfect matches. Okay, and that means color and position. So we're going to say for we're going to march through the secret array. So I'm going to say secret index equals 0. It'd be from 0 to 3, right? Secret index less than 4. And secret index plus plus. Like that. Okay? So perform this for loop with secret index incrementing from 0 to 3. Okay? And we're going to compare, so that means if, going to compare the color at the current secret array index with the color of the corresponding button at the same index. So that would be buttons secret index here, let me refresh the magnifying glass. Secret index dot back color. Okay. So what does this do? This takes an index from 0 to 3, grabs the secret color at that index, and compares it to the color of the corresponding button at the same index. Okay? So it essentially does a one-to-one comparison between these, and between these, right? And if the comparison is true, so if the colors are the same, we want to do two things. First, we want to mark the comparison array with the value that we agreed means a perfect match. That value was 1. Okay. And the other thing I want to do is I want to increment the perfect matches counter. Like that. Okay. So this will be the end of the if. The closing curly brace below that is end of the for, correct? And the curly brace below that is the end of submit handler.